Hello and welcome to Members Only.
The show where the creators of Hero Club talk about Hero Club, D&D, and whatever the hell else we want with whoever the hell else we want. I'm Nick Williams.
And I'm George Primavera. Let's do this!
Welcome to Hero Club, members only. Glad to have you. This is where we talk about all the things that we don't get to say on the show, 'cause that's not our thing. Welcome to Hero Club, members only.
Hey, George. Long time
Hey.
no members only.
I know, well, I just did one on my little lonesome after the
Well,
catastrophe.
that was more of an oopsie, I'd say.
A little more of a whoopsie daisy on my poor old computer's part as it limps to the grave.
Sprints to the grave.
It's been sprinting. It's picked up the pace lately, for sure.
It got like a burst of last life energy that it just exploded out of it. Let's go!
Well, luckily, all is stable now. I have cobbled together
Yes.
a setup. I think we're good. My computer is only open about 30 degrees because otherwise the entire screen will shut off. I have my camera perched on something, and we're making it work, baby.
So essentially, what you're
It's
doing
happening.
is like a weekend at Bernie's with your laptop. Like
I've
this thing is
propped
like
it up
it's
and
dead.
I'm puppeting its arms to say that it wants anher drink.
It is dead,
Nick,
but
we're
you are
here
putting
with-
sunglasses on it, and it's dancing with bodacious babes in Miami.
We are here with the Brands Bargain Cast. Say what's up, everybody.
What's up?
Yeah. Oh man,
Let's-
we're so psyched.
Why don't we do a little intro for each person?
Yes.
And then, George, you'll take the reins and kind of moderate this thing so we can answer some questions that we have, that you have, and that listeners have sent in.
Beautiful. Quick little disclaimer: if you have not listened to Brands Bargain, turn this off, you idiot. What are you doing? All sorts of
Don't be
spoilers are about
here.
to be up in this
Turn
thing.
around.
Turn around, my guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are
This
going
is
to be
gonna
talking
be 100%
in-depth.
spoilers.
100%. But first of all, if you don't know who I am, hello, my name is George Primavera. I was the Dungeon Master for Brands Bargain and am the Dungeon Master for most other Hero Club stuff.
And I'm Nick Williams, and I was Snag Tagish, the Scottish deer witch in Brand's Bargain.
Yes, let's say hello to Caroline Lux. Caroline, say hi. Tell us about your character.
Wow, howdy everybody. I'm Caroline, and I got the pleasure and honor of playing Tibby Feathergill, a wild and cool axolotl fighter warlock.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute
Beautiful.
butterfly.
Oh yeah, what were your? I should have said this with mine, but I was a level 15 witch. What was your level breakdown, Caroline?
Oh
Do
yes.
you know?
I was a level 12 fighter and level 4 warlock.
Amazing.
Oh yeah,
Amazing.
because mid-campaign, Caroline gained an extra level of warlock
Right.
by the end. That's
I
right.
got that
That's
extra
right.
level.
Got that extra level.
Yes.
Say hello, Gabe Greenspan, and tell us about your character.
Hello, I'm Gabe Greenspan. I played Flintbeak, the sulfur-crested cockatoo, blood hunter, blade singer, and witch by the end of it.
What's the level breakdown on that game?
It was 10 levels of blood hunter, 5 levels of blade singing wizard, and then 1 cheeky level of witch that I got during the final combat.
Yeah, we had Gabe super fast. I was like, can you add that to your sheet? And he's like, I will try.
I think that
We're all gonna grab a snack. Gabe, figure out this new class that you're
I mean, if
playing.
Level up
anyone
a class
could.
that's not in. Yeah, right.
I think
if
the
anyone
quote
can
was.
handle it.
You are up
I
to
think
the task.
Gabe's quote was, "What am I?" I think was what you said on the track.
And then finally,
and-
say hello, Lelia Symington.
Well, hello everybody. I was Miss Celestina Wojcik from the Northern Coldlands, big old brown bear. And I was, what was I? I was a level 15 ranger, and then also in the last, was it the last episode? or
Second
the second
to
to
last.
I think you were
second to
second
last
to last, yeah.
episode, I got level 1 cleric, which was dope.
Very
That's
cool.
right.
That was so
Just a
dope.
little extra cleric, just a little dashed in there after
Yeah.
a drink from a magical
From our
divine
moonfish.
pool.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, this was one of the most fun stories we've ever told. From the sheer, I mean, players at level 15 can do some really crazy stuff.
shit.
It's
So
incredible.
much.
And man, are they motivated to do crazy stuff when you tell them from the get, hey, I'm trying to kill your ass. Which I did. And
set down
each
the
one of my
gauntlet.
players said, try it.
Yeah. That's real. You did tell us that we were going to die. Like, probably
Yeah.
most of us were going to die before the end.
And I
Yeah.
said,
Yep.
please, pretty please, George, don't kill me.
Yeah.
Oh God!
wanted
mean,
to live.
did y'all feel the heat? Did that come across, or did y'all feel all 15 of those levels coursing through your goddamn veins? And was it a power
Oh.
trip?
I mean, that final combat of
Yeah.
Brand leading into the crab was like, oh, we're barely making it through this. Like,
Yeah.
we just, that one hurt. That combat hurt for sure.
And, yeah, and I would say that, I mean, let me pull up the actual math here, but Snag was so squishy. Like, I've never played a character that was as, like, easily hittable and damageable as Snag. I literally, like,
The number of conversations Nick and I had leading up to this season where he was like, my AC is so low, and there was just nothing I can do about
Well, you just
it.
had to,
My-
like, get to higher ground immediately. That was,
my
like,
Which you
AC was
did.
13, and I had a health of 123. Like I was literally like the most hittable character. There's almost at that level. There's almost no attack that will miss me other than a botch. Like
Yeah.
pretty much across the board. And I was so afraid the whole time. And because I was using that homebrew class from HM Press. For some reason, they didn't include mage armor, which I was like, you really should include mage armor or shield. Like, I didn't get any defensive spells in any way. So I was just hiding, like, most of the time.
Right.
Oh God!
The entire last episode, I was just like making death saving throws
Oh
like
my
the entire
gosh.
time.
Yeah,
I really
Celestina
thought I
had
was
a
gone.
rough go.
I went down like 4 times.
I literally didn't remember how many times we'd gone down until listening to it back, and it was just hit after hit.
Yep.
Well, I also didn't remember of that last fight until I was listening to it again. That like, Snag and I basically didn't do anything. Snag died. I flew to an island. Celestina did some damage, but then went down. Tibby did so much
much.
damage in
Like,
that final
everything.
fight. It was ridiculous.
Just
like-
spinning around with your sword in her acid stomach.
Just
I think
burning
I
in
truly
stomach
think
acid.
like total Flintbeak did 12 damage in that fight, and like the
Yeet.
rest of it, unreal.
Ugh.
That's
100%.
right.
Hey, let's go around the horn. I just want to hear about what everybody's favorite moments were. Just in general, like any like big highlights for you during the campaign that like maybe a personal moment or a moment that you observed. I know for a fact. First of all, I wanted to say I forgot to mention this up top. Dylan McCullum was supposed to be joining us today. The voice and player behind the NPC brand. Sort of like a co-DMing role in a way of like playing like this prominent villain NPC and yet still making some autonomous choices. Dylan got hit with a little bit of food poisoning. He's not going to be able to join us today. We hope he feels better so soon.
We love you, Dylan.
But I remember speaking to Dylan specifically about the threat beneath and what that whole situation would entail. And I think for my money's worth, I think my favorite moment in the entire campaign is, oh man, I just got to think like what specifically. It's probably, oh, you know what? Hard switch. I think it might be the very first scene with
Hard switch.
hard switch. It just hit me. I think it might be Snag's intro.
So that is a very fun one.
Might be one of my favorite moments to visualize.
Honestly, the intros for all the PCs were so visual this season. Like
Each
you did
intro,
a really
that
solid
is-
job of.
Yeah.
Yeah, Snag gets that like covered in chains, walking in a cavernous like gallows. Tibby gets wheeled in Hannibal Lecter
Right.
style.
Right.
Celestina tanks an assassination attempt.
Incredible.
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
Fully
proceeds
gets
to
stabbed.
fully
Get
tank
stabbed.
the sneak
Yeah.
stab, and then Flintbeak gets like an unseen, echoey
The
song.
whistle in the
Yeah.
dark, which was
The-
like,
ugh.
ugh.
Yeah, just like and everybody makes such like good has such good moments where everybody immediately I'm like I know what that character is instantly with each of your like perfect choices like on a song for Flintbeak for Celestina it's like a it's like truly just being a behemoth that is like an unstoppable force. It's like a
Yeah.
you can't
Yep.
stop me. I'm too big. I will
Just
destroy
keep moving
you.
Well,
forward.
and it also established a
Get
really
out of
cool
my
thing
way.
for Celestina, which is that like any of the other three of us would have like killed that dude immediately.
Right,
But,
she like does
he
show
goes-
restraint. That's
yeah.
right. She's capable of restraint. That's 100% right.
Right. Well, that
Us.
was what I liked so much. The thing we kind of like rolled into with Flintbeak and me, which was like me thinking because he was in uniform that he was a blackjack, you know,
Yeah.
One of the Armada,
lover,
yeah, 100%.
and then having us sort of become pals and like apologizing for my
That was a really cool
misjudgment.
arc that I did not expect to happen in the season
Yeah.
of
Me
the
neither.
Celestina Flintbeak like buddy arc.
Great
Well, and then
choices.
and
That
then
was
I
so
feel
nice.
like that opened up into the rest of us. Like we were all buddies by the end, and it was really sweet.
Ugh, I tried to make it so you wouldn't be, and I couldn't do it.
I know you couldn't.
Y'all
We just all
Yes.
like each other too much.
Power
Y'all just
friendship,
too
baby.
good of friends. Gosh dang, you just gotta lean into it. I think I've failed every time I've tried to like truly turn a party against
Yeah,
each other.
yeah.
Or have I?
Bump,
Or
bump,
have
bump.
I?
dun, dun.
Bum bum bum. Wait for next season.
That's
no,
true.
it is. You guys did bond so hard.
Tibby curled up and went to sleep in my fur, so
Yeah. I
Pretty
100%
much.
So
That was
cute.
and that was
BFFs.
probably the best sleep Tibby ever got. You
Right.
know.
Right. Absolutely.
What about your favorite moments? Yeah,
I was gonna say
please.
talking about favorite moments because the one that my favorite moment playing was different than my favorite moment listening back.
Oh, well, let's hear them all.
Because my favorite moment listening back was everyone, but specifically Tibby at the pool. When Tibby had the whole like with the brother and like that's not your real laugh, which Gabe Hicks pulled out of nowhere. What a genius!
Literally stabbed me right through the heart.
Yeah, that
Yep.
that as a listener was like, oh damn. And then going into Dylan's monologue afterwards about like, oh, you think you're good people now just because like you've gotten this moment of salvation. Like that whole sequence was so cool.
So cool.
As a player, my favorite moment was our first Doherty fight. Like because that for me
man.
was like everyone showing what a level 15 character can do.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I mean, it was Flintbeak getting to use his arsenal of like things that he can do, and some huge spells from Snag, which was so cool, and the truly hilarious armor debacle.
Oh my god. Tibby waiting in the wings for so
The
long.
harsh reality
Oh,
of D&D
so
mechanics.
Stupid armor.
Well, we have
Oh,
never. That's
God.
something because we almost never in Hero Club dip into fantasy stuff like classic D&D stuff. We have never ever had to deal with heavy armor.
Heavy armor,
Right,
yeah.
Like
right.
ever. Like no, I don't think any PCs other than maybe like the Christmas Paladins have ever had heavy armor.
Right.
And they're
so-
wearing their armor the whole time.
and they're just wearing
right.
it the whole time. And so the idea, like when that happened, I was like, "Oh my god! Like, how are we gonna do this? Like, this is insane."
I remember talking about it before we started that fight, and I was like, are like Celestina and Tibby wearing their armor? And you guys are like, nope, it was confiscated and it's in a
It was
trunk.
it was
Actually?
confiscated.
Yeah, and you're like, let me do a couple calculations. Yeah, that'll be 10 rounds before you can play. We're like, oh,
10
okay.
It was 10 rounds with a lot of help.
With
Yeah.
so many little minions helping us Put
Oh
on
god,
So
yeah, we had to.
funny.
I think there were like 9 people arming Tibby up at one point, like just getting
my
the robot
gosh.
ready to go Jarvis style, and she's just walking forward towards the staircase.
Yeah, that was an incredible sequence.
Also, huge shout out to the character of Fletcher, who we were all obsessed with because
Played by Lilia's now husband.
Played by my
Chase
man.
Owens.
Hey,
Chase
hey,
Owens,
Oh.
he just really brought that to life, and
Oh, yeah.
I love an otter, you know.
Love those.
I-
Love an otter.
Lit-
Love an
yeah,
otter.
the
Gotta
second
love an otter.
the second George was like, "Oh, and there's an otter on the crew, and he's the chef." And I said, "Okay, I love that character."
Yeah.
I love him. I love him now.
Yeah,
I
and he
see,
was
he
totally
owns my
creeped
whole
out
heart.
by Tibby, and she was just
Oh.
like, "Please, please
The
let me love you."
the most heartbreaking interaction I've ever let Dice decide was that interaction.
Where
I
you
really
had him decide, like, roll an insight check to know if she was laughing at his dead family or not.
right
And
exactly.
he failed.
And he failed to
Right.
realize like the true intent of it. Yeah, there it was honestly. I tried to. I as a DM wanted it to go the other way. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
made like a commitment this season to like really let Dice decide a lot of what was going on, so that I wouldn't feel the like impetus to be like I should fudge that and save these guys because I had introduced such a high
the
lethality
fact
thing.
that Dice did land such a hand, like that it played so much of a hand in this season, like when Flintbeak completely wrecked the rudder, and it was only because you rolled a low perception check that he didn't die immediately. I was like,
Yeah.
cool, like that's just roll the dice, you know.
Yep.
Botched Skizza Greentail's investigation
Oh
check.
yeah, that's right.
Incredible.
That was great.
Not so.
Well, I loved the moonfish bit too, and I feel like it reminded me a lot of City of Mirrors when we had the mushrooms episode.
Oh.
And it's just like I like this sort of like now pattern of having these episodes of just like let's get in your mind and like
Lelia likes the Vision episodes.
I do. I like the drama.
Let's get into the backstory.
Yeah.
Dig in deep.
Well, because we all spend so much time talking about our backstories and using them to be like, well, my character, if I'm being true to this, wouldn't do that. Mostly to justify doing stupid shit. But, but still, it's nice to let other people in also.
That's
Totally,
so true.
totally.
That's really true.
Yeah. What were your favorite moments, Caroline?
Oh, okay. While playing, I honestly, when Tibby was offered like the deal with this
gosh, yes.
creature, I honestly my heart was pounding, and and the fact that like no one else decided to do it, and I was like, I should do it. Tibby would do it.
Tibby would do
Tibby
it.
would absolutely say yes.
Yeah, that was
that,
open
like-
for anyone too. That was really a truly like a wonder who's gonna press the button, and
Yeah.
Caroline happened to press the button.
Yeah.
It was that whole discovery
yeah.
of, and like the whole like talking and the like having these voices to play with was so fun. I loved that.
Tagra, your relationship with your unseen voice in your head. Was
Also,
that
I do love that like we barely touched on like we little hinted at it that like Tagra's dream was to engulf the sun.
There were Togra
Yeah.
lore drops that when they
Yeah.
came in during the game, George would be like, "We'll eat the sun, Tibby," and all of the rest of us would be like, "What? You'll what? The what?"
Excuse me?
ate the sun.
Could we run that one back again?
yeah.
That was insane.
And I
just
love how awkward we all were when we were like, is she talking to us? Or
Yeah, right. What is
Just-
that? What is-
Oh, it's so fun.
yeah, so fun, and I love that Tagra just got kicked to the curb because he showed weakness like one time.
Oh,
and you're
did
just
not
like,
anticipate
nope, bye.
that either.
Yeah, it was
Craziness.
cutthroat and such a cool choice to just be like,
Yeah.
Oh, wait, George, that was freaking so good, both playing and listening back. When you, okay, also, nobody got to see this except us, but when you were becoming the, like, butterfly from the owl, and you, like, moved your neck in this really horrifying
over
way.
the Zoom?
Yes, and
Over
then
Zoom.
and then your voice got all low, and I was like, ah! It's so scary.
Oh my god.
You
terrifying.
should move.
Yes,
There
yes.
is not space in
Yes.
here.
Oh god, the voice of the owl in general was horrifying.
Terrifying.
Ugh.
Yes.
Uh,
So good.
That
So
was
gross.
so the way that, this is like a silly thing. I don't usually like do a lot of thought into like what voice I'm gonna do for something, but for that I was really trying to be like it doesn't speak, it can't speak because it is a butterfly. It like doesn't have the capability to speak. So the way it's speaking is magical, and the way it's like projecting the magic and like imitating speech is through tone, which this thing communicates through smell, not through sound. So to replicate tone, it is like replicating musical notes. So that's why there is like it sticks
Sick.
on certain like syllables longer and holds them out for unnatural periods of time because it's just trying to create like a sonic mimicry of what speech is.
That's
You're cool,
Whoa.
George.
so cool. George, speaking sort of that, like a question that I had about like what was your vision for the owl, like the owl turned butterfly, like was it always there as like a red button to push? Was it there as a rip cord, like
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you
So
first
it
put it in?
it was always it is basically because otherwise it's the situation I've put you in is unwinnable. Brand kills you all at the end.
Right.
If the brands are not removed and the situation is fixed and Brand survives, Brand ends it and disposes of the tools, you know? So the only way to get rid of that is through a deal with a dangerous entity. And the whole impetus behind it was whoever is going to choose it is going to have to run the risk of this thing wants to eat people. And it wants to eat everyone.
Right.
And the reason that it didn't really target the party, it absolutely would have and could have targeted the party.
But we
Were
were
it
far
not
away.
for Tibby specifically making persuasion checks to prevent it from doing so.
Wild.
Excellent.
Tibby's persuasion checks may not have felt like super integral in the moment because the butterfly was responding in such a like, I'm considering your point kind of way, but that
Right.
is truly only because the checks were in her favor by a lot. And the
So
what
cool.
easily
Thank
could have
goodness.
happened was a butterfly attacking the departing people.
Ooh.
And also, had they made themselves known and not invisible, Butterfly would have been drawn to activity. And so too would have the Dread Crab who showed up. And it's only through like the quote unquote not cowardice, but like the decision to remain hidden and unseen that kaiju fight did not make its way to your boat. And I had truly anticipated losing 1 to 2 of you in that episode.
Dang.
And it's only through the decisions you made that all of you survived.
That is crazy.
So
yeah.
you all avoided the worst of it, truly, except for Tibby, who accepts the final transfer of power. And from the moment of accepting that last, as the butterfly's soul is snuffed, is Tibby given like the next in the lineage.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Woo.
So the second Tibby accepts the deal after the butterfly is dying is the moment she dies.
Yeah,
essentially.
she's dead.
She's now
Yeah.
on a ticking timer, which is why, had we not botched our perception checks to see what was going on our back, we would have noticed layers of itchy cocoon starting to spread.
Oh,
over.
I meant to
Ooh.
ask what that was.
There were so many. There were a lot of checks this season because, like,
Yeah.
I don't think any of us were like except for maybe Celestina. I don't think any of us were like, you know what I'm gonna be really good at? Looking at stuff. And so there was just like
Yeah.
there was a lot of checks that were like, there was insight checks that I was making about Brand that like I did not get anything, and there was like investigation checks
yeah,
that we were making
huge
about
stuff
like
there.
the ship and about Tibby and stuff where it was like we don't know this, and that was really cool. So just like not have that information, was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lilia, what's up? Oh, never mind. Nick, what about your favorite moment?
Well, like from like a raw power standpoint, drowning Doherty was like the most satisfied I've ever been playing D&D in my life. I think.
Every combo worked. You got him just under the threshold for power where it's stun.
It was so
just
great.
under it. Like
And-
3 points.
And that's one of those ones where like I really love our format and I think it's great, but like I wish everyone could hear my like screamy reactions as that was going, because I was basically like ready to Misty Step out of the boat like the second he got to me. And then like things just kept going well. So it was like, all right, well, I'll leave after if I can't stun him. And I stunned him and it worked. I was like, oh, I guess I stay. And then like the next thing worked and the next thing worked. And it was so crazy, especially because I've never been involved in a combat like that where I knew that the goal was to kill me. Like there is no, like every pirate on that ship, including the scariest villain ever, was all targeting only me. Like multiple times Fenwick got shot and just ignored it so he could find me. Like that was, it was crazy. And so the whole time I was just fucking panicking. And then when it worked, I was just like, that was incredible. I can't believe, because where my health was at and what he was doing with those damage, because he was like a barbarian rogue. Like
Yeah,
he could
barbarian
have
rogue,
easily
that's right.
killed me
Whoa.
on his next attack. So like if I had, it was a gamble to stay at all, because if he had gotten another like sneak attack off, I would have died probably for sure.
Wow.
So like it was a really crazy moment.
Fenwick's big thing was that his athletics and acrobatics checks were like plus 16 or something because he had expertise in those skills from the rogue feature. So
Yep.
the whole thing of like Brand trying to like take him over the boat and Brand being like a level 20 character and being very, very strong and very competent and still getting just tossed over the side by huge like Dylan would go like 24 and I'd be like, great, that was a 33, you're over the side.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was, you know, completely insane. And you got hit for like 50 damage in one strike, and then he just never hit
multiple
you
times.
again.
Yeah, it was that was really crazy, and I was just like, oh, my health is not doing great, and I could really get downed if I keep going. So that was really great, and just kind of like a general thing is I really liked. I did this character was like very new for me for like a lot of different reasons. Like I've never played a designated spellcaster before, and I've never played a character who was a coward, like a full-blown coward. Like survival was his #1 goal, and I've never played a character who is like essentially a sociopath. So like all of those things where I was like, wow, this is really crazy. Like I'm making almost every decision I'm making is the opposite of how I would normally do this. So I'll just lean into that.
Yeah.
Like I'll just lean into surviving only, which is very fun.
It was super interesting how like, cause Flintbeak also like quickly had a singular through line of consciousness where like if all of Snag's decisions were like I'm a coward and it's purely for survival, like Flintbeak's was we were dead the second we stepped on this ship. Like I know we were dead the second we stepped on this ship, so we're just gonna have a ride until that. Like his whole thing was like let's see how this goes till we die, because we're definitely gonna die. And that was that was a mentality that I've never played in a D&D game where it was like, for sure, there's no end game here, and so that was like a very crazy challenge of playing these characters.
Yeah, really fun.
And, I have a couple of fun little questions I can from our Discord that I can throw you guys on. If you guys haven't followed the Discord already, we'll put like a little link in there for the Discord on our socials. From Hales, we know Hales. We love Hales. Hey Hales. When designing classes, what do you guys start with? Do you start with the stats? Do you start with the voice? Do you start with like the general physical idea? Like, what's your process? Why don't we start with Caroline?
Sure. Oh my gosh. Well, when creating Tibby and knowing that this story took place in Emporia with these anthropomorphic characters, I was just thinking about like I started with what animal would be like the most fun for me to explore. And, you know, like I'm a short gal, and I love the idea of playing like a short creature. But so I was like drawn to an axolotl, especially because we were, given the prompt that these characters were, maybe evil, maybe, are definitely criminals.
Yep.
So I thought like a short, small criminal who is very powerful and is wearing heavy armor was just like a funny, like, it's like very small and slow was very fun to me. And, axolotls do not have eyelids, which is just iconic.
That's just a beautiful gift. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's just nature right there. That's incredible.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
idea that she's like pale pink, like a little baby doll. Like, I just was kind of like the juxtaposition of character to backstory was very fun for me.
Yeah, what was your backstory? Like that, I think that'd be fun if we all also
I would
tell
love
us
to
about a little bit of your.
hear.
Yeah,
Let's
well,
hear about
bits we
everybody's
didn't get on
backstories.
stream.
We'll
I
go
think
through
some
a
of us don't know
round.
everything, right?
We
yeah.
can pair these questions. So
Let's do
yeah.
both of them. At first, tell us about your process, and then tell us some backstory stuff that we didn't get to know.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So that was I started with axolotl and then just kind
Axolotl,
of,
you started with more the physical. Love that.
Yes, exactly. And then built the character. Similar to Nick, I have never really played like a spellcaster, so I leaned heavily more into the physical class of fighter, and then with the touch of warlock. And because George, we talked about how with a warlock that comes with making a deal for your powers, and so Tippy's backstory is that she was kind of just like a low-born criminal. Like her family, they were all kind of mercenaries or like hired hands to do maybe some not so nice things, stealing, things like that. And she just got a little bit more than she bargained for.
Hey.
Uh-huh.
When like her twin brother was killed in a job that went south, and she just like made a deal with this Tagra character who, she found this mask in like an old temple, and it just was there when she needed it, when she needed that revenge.
And
yeah.
this is something that makes Tibby very unique, is that your goal after finding the mask was to what was it? Clarify for us.
Yes, it was to take revenge and kill the people who were responsible for her brother's death, which was like this family that hired them, right? And she got what she wanted. She absolutely massacred them. Yes.
Yeah, and that all happened before we even met
The
her.
only
Before.
character to have already gotten all the revenge they wanted
Incredible.
in spectacular fashion, and that's the crime
Wow.
that they are imprisoned for.
Amazing. Caroline, in your mind, was Tibby like always a little bit of a sociopath psychopath, or did this sort of like spiral when the whole thing with her brother went down?
Honestly, I think it was a spiral. I think it was a very quick spiral. I think, she probably thought she wasn't much of anything. Because I envisioned her family as like big and there were a lot of them, but her closest confidant was her twin, and that was kind of like the thing that she cared about the most. He was a person. Sorry.
Yeah.
Good clarification.
Good point. Really good
Good
point.
color, yeah.
Not like the stuffed axolotl you are currently holding on this
Yeah,
Zoom
for
call.
our audience,
That
she
is a
is
thing.
holding a Build-A-Bear axolotl right
Cute
now.
as hell.
Yeah,
Oh my
can you
gosh,
believe
so
Build-A-Bear
cute.
makes axolotl now? So
Crazy.
check that out. I
Well
think
done,
they come in
Build-A-Bear.
pink and blue for some reason.
Caroline, was your full name Tibidora?
Good, the question
Great
we've all
question.
been thinking of.
I know.
Well,
Just to get to the hard hitting.
honestly,
Or was it Tibitha?
I thought it, I did think,
Tibediah.
Tiberius.
these are all that's exact. It was all of them actually.
Great. Good.
Good,
It's a
good,
common
good. That was just in a row.
Emporian naming trope for
And
axolotls
her-
is that they
yeah.
have several different names that just rotate on
And
a.
with
like Russia.
Tagra coming in and being like this character of like super like ecstatic ambition and blind. Frankly, I mean, even the threat beneath says it to you. Like he's got the dumbest goal in the whole world, completely unachievable. He wants to
No.
swallow the sun.
Yeah.
Whether that is technically unachievable is, who knows? It's D&D,
knows?
baby.
Hey,
But
baby.
like, but on this, certainly to the surface and to most thinking it through kind of people, that's this a silly goal.
Yeah.
yes.
100%.
But to
Probably
Tibby-
didn't help with the stability.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like, but to Tibby
Right.
was like, that sounds fun.
Sounds
I don't
fun.
have anything.
I'm on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
I need a goal.
yeah.
Right, nothing to
What
lose.
about Lilia? What about you? You have also everybody has a very unique backstory.
But where
it's
did you
true.
start?
Where did
Lilia,
you start with
character?
your character building?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, so honestly, I wanted to just do something totally different than
Jade?
Jade.
Jade.
Yeah, I was just like, Jade is this sort of like little sly chica who's like good at stealing stuff and sneaking into places and hiding. And I was like, well, what's something that can't hide? Giant bear.
And then you
And instead of
took it.
sort of like-
There was an ability that made you invisible, so you still
yeah.
found a way to hide a
I
little.
know. Weird. Yeah, but like, and I think before she'd always sort of hid behind things and attacked from afar and snuck up. And I was like, what if I just was more of the frontline
Oh, yeah.
person?
And
You sure
you're
were.
you're doing your stepmom, right? Like their voice is like a 1-to-1 your stepmom, right?
Yes.
Whoa.
I mean, she'd probably have some issues with
Incredible.
it, but my stepmom is Polish, and obviously Poland doesn't exist in Emporia, so the
Cold
cold lands
lands.
were what we decided
Absolutely.
Poland was. And right before we started developing our characters for this season, my brother called me because he was like, "Dude, I just got back from hanging out with my dad and Lenka, her name is, and she comes up to me and she goes, 'Are you mad at your dad?' And like, we just thought it was like the funniest thing
Celestina
ever,
was
and I was
born.
like, yes! And Celestina was
God,
born.
I'll take that.
Incredible.
so funny.
So my backstory, okay, so I come from the Coldlands, and I come from this family of like hunters. We're carapace dealers.
Whoa.
Cool.
Yeah, so we go and gather whatever. I guess it would be like pelts.
Like fur
and-
traders, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so then the Emporian army starts moving further and further north to start colonizing those areas, and I was fairly known within my region for sort of saving people from various beasties and like villages and stuff, being sort of this protector
She
person.
killed like 40 crabs
And-
once.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys heard,
yeah.
but I
40
did
crabs.
kill
I thought
40
it was.
crabs.
I thought it was 40 crabs.
Could have been 40 crabs.
40 whole crabs.
40 crabs. So this Emporian like army group that's coming to take us down is led by this guy, a seal named Captain Philip Darkwater.
He's a seal.
Kraken enemy.
Oh,
He's a
shit.
seal.
Cool.
He's a seal and he's a dick. Anyway, he comes and we sort of make a deal, and I'm like, I can help you. I can basically like. He sort of
Oh, there
extorted
was
me, and I was just like,
negotiation? I thought it was just like a map.
Yeah, I'm
That's
like-
so cool.
I'll give you a cut, whatever, mafia style, if you leave my people alone. And then I go out and on one of my jobs, and I come back, and my entire village is razed to the
Damn.
ground. And I'm like, all right, it's time for you to die now.
Yeah.
So then I go and I try to kill him. I think it was, what was it, George, on his wedding day or
play.
something?
You try to kill him when he's going
Oh, it was
at
a
a
play.
theatrical event. You
yes.
pose as one of the actors and try to assassinate him from the stage.
Amazing.
And
That's
it
right.
does
that's
not
right.
go well.
John
Yeah,
Wilson
Lincoln style.
Can we see that episode?
Yeah, you know.
Can we see that?
Yeah, right.
I know. Just a
We
one-off.
did talk
of me
about maybe
failing.
figuring out what happens to
Doing the play.
the
Oh, that's so funny.
unfortunately Sans Tibby, but we'd get Caroline in there to do another character.
I would
just
love to watch Celestina roll performance checks to do a scene in a play realistically enough that the guy isn't like, what the fuck? Like,
What is
the
that?
second she walks out.
What is that cold lands bear
Wherefore
doing
art
here?
thou, Romeo? Deny thy father and refuse thy name. Yeah, no, I would have been really good.
Bravo.
Sorry that you guys missed that.
man.
Ugh, you robbed us.
But yeah, anyway, all these war priests like were on to me, and they totally got me before I had the chance to. So then I was imprisoned, but they were like, "Hey, this girl's got some spunk." And so they brought me for this mission.
Yeah.
I like the opening scenes because they're all of our heist moments of like, you son of a bitch, I'm in.
I know. Except that it's you, some of a bitch I have to be in.
I have to
I have
win.
no
I
choice.
guess I have no choice.
Also,
oh my
like
God.
fun little flavor is that we introduce, Celestina with red. I believe we introduce you with red dust on your fur, which
Yes,
is
that's
a
right.
reference to Brickton. So you were held in the cage in Brickton
Cool.
before being
Right.
transferred to Grey Rock Prison.
By the way,
or
quick
to
shout
Grey,
out to-
Grey Rock Harbor.
Quick shout out to both George and Marty, who came up with like a list of like 30 prisons and what their fun thing
So
was.
cool.
Yeah.
Which was so
That was
fun.
awesome.
There
Mostly
are so
Marty,
many.
honestly.
Yeah.
He came up with so many that are so good.
They're
One of
so
my favorites
cool.
is the Hive, which is
Yeah.
a honey colony
Yep. Of like
Whoa.
giant bees.
of giant bees where the prisoners like make the honey.
Yep. Tend to the bees.
That's it's
That would really be the prison that I would want to go
Yeah.
to.
right.
Buzz,
well, you
buzz,
get to eat honey
baby.
all day. Except that
Yep.
there's giant wasps that need to be wrangled. It's like this is
Sure.
obviously a period in a monarchy where prisons are exceptionally cruel. So
Yeah.
that does reflect
Right.
in sort of a weird tonal dissonance, as everybody is an animal and we're doing giant honeycombs. So there's a little bit of like silliness there, but we also get to like that darkness of like Lord of the Rings and the pits and the
Totally.
the pirates being rounded up and forced to do labor. And then the pirate times in real times are dark as hell. So we just
Yeah.
So dark.
the only way we really alleviate that, especially in Brand's Bargain, is that magic and their animals come into play. Which magic always softens the blow of everything because
Torture.
of torture, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
because
yeah.
it's like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah.
magic's real. Surely somebody will,
Prevail.
It's the promise of magic does. I feel like the promise of magic in the world does feel like that there soon something will be undone, and like the magic gives like a hope to Emporia that I think a
Yeah.
sad
Oh, yeah.
pirate setting would not have.
Yeah. For
Whoa.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
What about Flintbeak? Gabe, tell us about your
Oh
all
man.
your-
So the original build for Flintbeak, I'd had this Blood Hunter Blade Singer concept for a while. I'd come up with that mix somewhere in my head and was like, oh god, there's got to be a campaign that this would work for. And when it was like, pirate Suicide Squad, I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like someone who is basically like a blood magic singer, like that's fantastic for this.
Very cool.
But how I like to build characters in general, and I've built too many for campaigns. Like every time I come on to a members only thing, it's me being like, listen to all the characters I've built.
Yep.
But like anytime I build a character, I build it sort of centered around like a single mechanic that I can like make it the best at that mechanic. And for Flintbeak, it was defense. Like I knew I wanted him to be almost unhittable, more so than I wanted him to be even like a particularly good shot or particularly adept at magic. I was like, no, I want him to have like suffered a whole bunch, and now his main objective is like nothing touches me. So that was a lot of his like mechanical build. And then the backstory that I tied into that was, it was like very Winter Soldiery. It was like he was a soldier for the monarchy. He was one of the Armada, and brought up in those ranks. Showed exceptional ability, and was recruited to like a secret sort of Magitech program, which was like the darker side of magic in this world, the stuff that people weren't seeing. And there was this Tapir scientist, Margaret Pomer, who was running this program, and essentially, like, tortured him until lightning ran through his blood at all times. So his the concept of Flintbeak was that he was always in pain, and that this homebrew item that George gave him, which became so much of the basis for him and was the scariest mechanic I've ever played with in D&D.
Yeah, talk about that mechanic, because we don't get to clearly talk about it too much.
So we all got our magic item that we would have. Tibby had the Mask of Tagra, and Celestina had her spear, and
I had the boat.
The boat
Her
was
trophy
in the
spear,
bottle, right?
and
The
you had
trophy
the bow in
spear.
the bottle.
And I had this thing called the suppressor, which was the thing that was fused into his spine, basically, which nullified the electricity and the pain that he was in, but at the cost of, in D&D mechanics, never knowing my hit point total, which was insane. It is the
So
craziest thing to be you take damage, you don't know how much.
Yeah.
And honestly, part of that was why I was then I'm not gonna take damage, motherfucker. If you're gonna if you're gonna do it that I never know, I'm not gonna let myself get hit. But it was so wild, and especially in that last fight with the crab, where kudos to George for describing it in a way that I was oh, I'm dying. I know that I'm dying. Because part of the other
racing,
part of the suppressor's mechanic was you don't go down when you're making death saves. You're still up and fighting even while
Oh my
making
God.
death saves. You're just not aware that you're making
So,
them.
yeah, I don't know if you
my
guys picked up on
gosh.
that, but he was at his second death save. He had failed two.
In that crab fight, Flintbeak was at 0 hit points and had failed 2 death saves when we beat the crab.
So if
And
didn't
Cass
if
barely
Gabe
dying on himself to stop making death saves.
and if Gabe had not done the levitation thing in the crab's
Within the
mouth,
crab's mouth.
when I killed the crab and it fell, he would have automatically died
That
because he
fall
would have
damage
failed
killed me. That
that
would've been my
death
third
save.
failed
It
death
would
save.
have been his
Which
third.
would have made Flintbeak the ghost captain of the ship and would have
Eliminated
put
Snag
Snag's
entirely, right.
soul to rest.
Oh,
So
my
there was a
gosh.
crazy amount hanging on that last couple of moments of that
Right.
fight.
Oh my god!
but
and
yeah,
you
so
were only
that
in that
was-
mouth because of Tibby. Wow.
Good jumping for Tibby. But so that was the wild mechanic that sort of accompanied Flintbeak, and his whole backstory was kind of built around it. And then he escaped the program. And then his drive was to go through and cold murder anyone associated with it all the way up to Pamer. That was his driving force.
Well, there's a big moment with Oz.
With Oz, which was his person that he saw in the water, which was Oz was a golden eagle who was a soldier that Flintbeak knew from before and had a romantic relationship with, and he was the one who nursed Flintbeak back to health after he sort of found him, having gone through this scientific experiment program, and Oz, still being loyal to the Armada and believing the best of the crown, was we have to take this public. We need to tell people that this is happening and that you've survived this program, and this is, and Flintbeak was no, they will kill us.
They'll kill
If
us,
this
yep.
gets out, we die.
Yeah. Yep.
And Oz went behind his back, and while he was still resting and nursing, told someone in the Armada that this program was happening, and basically Pamer sent people to murder them. And in that fight, Flintbeak lost control of his electricity, blasted everyone in the room, and killed Oz along with all the rest of the soldiers. So
Oh my god.
that was his deep at the heart of his. It's the only reason he didn't take the deal in the pond to be with him, was because he was I know that what we talked about as where we want to end up is not this. You wouldn't ultimately be happy with me or proud of me if I just let this go now. You'd want me to see it through. So that was
see.
the driving force for Flintbeak all the way through was hardcore revenge, and trying to keep this promise to the man he loved.
Yep.
And the
Which
way
I
you
think
end
is
up in
why
prison
we
is
were
that-
pals, because we had the same
Right,
goal.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the way you end up in prison is a failed assassination attempt with less your incompetence and more Margaret Palmer baits you.
Exactly.
And Flintbeak goes for it, and he gets rounded right up.
He got bad evidence from someone that he'd tracked down. They were a step ahead of him, and when he went to that, to the place in time where he thought he would finally get her, there was like an armada waiting for him, and he just went, hands up. All right.
Ugh.
But I love that. But and good on Gabe Hicks as well. And I know you gave it, but like Flintbeak's real name is Egan, and it's only said one time, and it was when the anglerfish like addressed him by his actual name, and that was great because he hadn't used that name with anyone since Oz, and so that was like a very meaningful, powerful thing for him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Flintbeak was tragic.
God,
I loved that
dude.
that sulfur-crested cockatoo.
Got it. Gotta love it.
It
was devastating. What about? Speaking of devastating, Snag.
Yeah, Snag.
Snag.
Look, Snag. Snag was also a character who had like maybe the least motivate. Kind of similar to Tibby, honestly. Like,
where'd you approach like making Snag? Was it like the deer in your head first?
So we're running the full gamut. I approached Snag with the voice. So
nice.
I wanted
We
to,
all went different. That's so great. Wow.
I wanted to do a Scottish character really badly, and I at this point I've played a lot of different characters in Hero Club, and I'm trying to make them like very different and stretch and all that stuff. And I really wanted to do a Scottish character, and I think like the kind of like the easy pull for a Scottish character is like big hoss barbarian-y, like Celtic warrior, like giant like Dad and Brave style character.
Hell yeah.
Like just like a big
Yep.
And I was like, I want to do the opposite of that. I want to like go like unexpected, and I went with witch, and then it was kind of like, well, he's a Scottish witch, like or like that was one of the things. Like I was doing a Scottish voice, and I was like, I'm writing these kind of Shakespearean things, and I was like, let's make him a witch because of the Scottish play, and like that's another kind of angle on weird, the
love
weird
that.
like gross like occulty side of like druids and like all that kind of like Celtic occult stuff is so cool too. So I went all in on that, and so the voice was really where I started.
Cool.
And then it was just kind of like I shout out to Jeffrey Robb, who is a friend of the show. He is a Shakespeare actor in New York, and he was in Georgia my first campaign, and he wrote all of my hex prose, like or all of the
cool.
iambic pentameter hexes that
Those were so cool, man.
so cool.
So
really
good.
made Snag so much cooler. And so I started with that voice and really kind of just like wanted to try to be as different as possible. And
Nick, do you tell people about your totem phrases?
which one?
Saturday night.
Oh, well, so I'll talk about that. So I call them like my keystone sentences, which are like the things I need to say to get into character. And I wrote this cowboy poem. It's like a long story, but I wrote this cowboy poem that is basically just acts to me as like a monologue that like lives rent free in my brain, where I just like know this monologue that I wrote, and it's like a funny, weird monologue. And so I generally use that in whatever character voice, because it's like a lot of different words. I use that in whatever character voice to kind of get into the character. So for Snag, I was just saying Saturday night down on Whiskey Row, like over and over and over and over. Saturday night.
That's a good bunch of consonants and vowels for that.
It's really good. And so right before I said anything, a lot of the time it would be like, Saturday night. Oh, what are you doing over here? And that was like a big part of. I felt so bad for everybody. I mean, just
I loved it.
We all had accents at one point
Yeah.
where we'd be like, I can't say this word in this accent I've picked. Like I need to pick a different noun because this is not working.
I loved when
Yeah.
you guys would kind of blend together each other's accents, like in the
100%.
moment.
Oh, for sure. There were times where it was just like, all right, now you're Polish
I'm doing
slash
yours.
Irish. And I'm like, all right,
Well, the
all
second
right.
I'm
Gabe-
doing a Tibby. Hold on.
The second Gabe picked Irish, I was like, well, I'm fucked.
Shit,
Like,
yeah.
I literally was just like, this is going to be so bad. But, yeah, to Snag's backstory, I kind of wanted to, I kind of took a lot of, like, we're not, we're a pirate season, but I was kind of the only pirate. And so I was like, I really want to go really, really all in on pirate. Like, as
yeah.
much as, like Flintbeak is like a sailor.
He's a sailor, but he's
like,
not
turned-
really. Yeah.
He's not like I was a pirate, and so
Yeah, right.
I was trying to just I watched all of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and I was like, what if Calypso and Jack Sparrow were the same character, and what would that be like?
Yes.
And that's basically what I did, where it was just like
Incredible.
I
Yes,
just took like
that's
the super
frickin' so
cowardly,
real.
like big stories about himself, like crazy silver tongue, like high charisma. I could like brand it like because of how it worked out with you know in the role play. I was lying to Brand most of the time, and he caught it all the time because he was an inquisitive rogue. But pretty much across the board, I was rolling like 18s and ups for like every
Wild.
charisma-based check.
Wild.
And so
Wow.
it was super fun to just be like a face, you know?
Right. Oh, that's how you got away with not doing any work on the boat,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
With Mrs. Hillsby.
And I also feigned a heart attack and sent
Yes,
Merdina
Merdina.
around.
That was
But-
so good.
Oh, that's right.
A lot of Snag's backstory is like really simple. It's like we all saw it in the beginning. Like his dad was a basically like a deadbeat treasure hunter pirate who made basically a pact with like a deep sea entity to get this treasure, and basically that like the monkey's paw deal of it was that he got all the treasure, but he was bound to his ship, and the treasure, no one, it's like the best detail that we never got to explore, I think, is that the treasure that was on the bottom of the ship
Yes.
can't hit land. The second it hits land, it turns to sand.
Oh,
So it's
cool.
like basically like this completely like he's a trillionaire, but none of the money works on land. So like
Whoa.
Wow.
all of Snag's power is like on the ocean. The second he's on land, he cannot sleep. That was a big part of it because of his curse. So when we first meet him and he's so crazy, it's because he's been at this prison for like 5 years, not sleeping.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
because they are
Insane.
keeping him in like a landlocked prison, and he's fully insane. And then the second he gets on water, it like revitalizes him.
Grey
But-
Rock
so
Prison is
cool.
technically like in the midst of the water, but it is on a big gray rock, which is land. So therefore, yeah.
That's so
Um,
cool.
And so basically, Snag just spent all of his time trying to be the greatest pirate because he knew, like, that there was no point in being good or doing. There was kind of no checks or balances for anything because he knew exactly where he was going to end up no matter what, which was at the helm of the ship. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
so there's kind of like no drive for him to do anything like good for society or positive or change in any way, like there, because he knows no matter what choices he makes, that's happening, like guaranteed. Which is also why he didn't like take the deal in the.
And it's also that
water.
his father, Snag's father, dies and passes the curse onto him.
Yes.
When he's just a boy, right? And like we see that in the dream pretty much play out as it happens, I think.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and then very fun to get to, like, what a great Chekhov's gun to have Flintbeak do that.
Yes.
Later, so fun.
That was
I
What was
really
behind
happy.
that choice?
Yeah.
It was. I mean, part of it was. I mean, I said it. I think I said it in the episode where Flintbeak's like, I always expected I'd die at sea. I mean, like, I think it was. He
you
knew Tibby couldn't, and it at that point in the fight, Celestina was down, Tibby was in the mouth,
I was dead.
and Snag was dead. And
Yes.
and Flintbeak was like, I have a fucking gun. Like, I can't do anything to this guy. This is where we all die, or the one person who I've seen, like, a fun thing that was baked into Flintbeak's backstory was, like, being an Armada soldier, he knew who Snag Tagish was. Like, he'd heard the name Snag Tagish as a pirate of the Emporian Seas. And so then meeting him and seeing the magic firsthand, he was like, oh, like, probably not all of the legends, but some of the legends are true. This guy has real magic. So as the fight was sort of going that way, I think he was like, look, either this is it for everyone, or I make this sacrifice and I think we get a big ally back into this fight.
Yep. And again, you'd gone into it being like,
And he knew he was going to die
no
anyways.
point.
So, like,
Yeah.
Flintbeak, this was sort of in line with what he already believed of, like, I'd rather die on this ship, you know, having this adventure than die right now in the mouth of this crab.
Right,
and so
totally.
that was where that came from.
oh, also, okay, wait, this just reminded me, this really great behind the scenes moment was, okay, when Celestina drinks the water, then, like, after that moment when we stopped recording, George is like, okay, so you get a level 1 cleric. And I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know what that means, but I'll figure it out. And so I'm, like, figuring it out, and we're on our little group thread without George so that he can't sabotage us. And we sort of were like,
never.
oh my god, do I have the ability to make frickin' Brand stop talking, like to mute him?
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, I don't know because we just like rolled so shitty that whole time if it actually helped. But it did, like, I feel like it could have killed all of us
Yes.
if he hadn't been muted. And so it was just so
That
lucky.
silence
spell.
spell was so cool.
That was
everything.
awesome.
Made
And
for a
all
really
those
cool
fucking-
Hero Club soundscape too.
I was gonna say it is one
Yeah,
of
it
my
did.
from a production standpoint. I think it's my favorite soundscape moment.
Yeah.
Is the muted, like the muted screaming, laughing of Tibby, like
Yeah. Yes.
like it's
Exploding out of the silence into the mud with Brand. Oh,
Yeah, and Flintbeak like flying up
So
out of it.
yeah, coming out of the
I
silent
said this
sphere.
to George. The fact that, like, that entire last episode was combat, and that the whole Brand combat didn't even, like, audio-wise feel like combat. It just felt like a
Yeah.
whole other thing. It was
like
so
bullet
cool.
time tension. It
Yeah,
was like,
that was
Yes.
incredible.
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, just like. They reminded me, like, Brand with his pocket watch. I know we had a question about
I
that
had
from
so many.
Ninebite.
Yeah, I had
Um,
questions
Yeah.
about
What
that
are some
too.
more?
Dylan
of these,
and I did a lot of
discords?
talking about like who Brand was, and Dylan brought this really awesome thing to the character where that he's always just a little bit out of control. And Brand's backstory is, here's the thing that he got put on this journey for.
Yes.
Is in the middle of
Yes.
being a captain, he I think it's the first mate contradicts him in front of the crew, and he beats him to death in front of the crew. And high up members
My
of the Armada see
God.
that and are like, that's nobody's gonna join if that's what our captains do. This dude needs to be gone, or like not a captain anymore. So the way
Amazing.
Brand gets his
Dude.
title back is volunteering to go on a suicide mission when that opportunity arises. So he gets his rank restored, and his goal is like, I'm going to go radical as possible. Minimum risk, like I'll try to minimize my risk with these slayers, but I'm going to try to make it like clear that I can use these criminals to do good, and not in a way to redeem the criminals, in a way to
Right.
use them as tools.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
because
and
clearly
specifically
he made it
magic
clear,
users, too.
Yeah, he made it clear that we could not
Yeah.
find retribution in our actions.
care about
Yes.
us.
Yeah, that was
and,
his
and
whole
also
thing.
like I know that this came up in King of Tides, but he literally wrote a book that's basically like how to manipulate magic users.
How
right?
to
And,
beat
like,
magic use. It's called
Dang.
Knowing Thine Enemy, and there's all these passages that are like super anti-magician, and
cool.
he's
he basically wrote a Mein Kampf. Let's
he
just throw that
basically
out
wrote
there.
a little
that
Mein
we-
Kampf on magicians being tools to be used. And he is like part of the ideology behind why magicians are purged in Emporia. He's like a bad guy.
It's crazy.
Wow.
So it's good
Brand
that we
is-
killed him so bad.
Brand is
Yeah.
a bad dude. There's no redemption there. He is because Dylan added this really amazing thing where he's just like always a little bit out of control. It became like this obsessive compulsive disorder element where this pocket watch acted as his anchor to retain control.
Cool.
Right.
And there's this funny element that he is not a barbarian. And I don't think you need to be a barbarian class to have rage issues if they don't help you.
Yep. You're
Right.
right. It's not
Right.
helpful
If
in any
rage
way.
is your downfall,
Right.
you can be as mad as
Oh,
you
and it
want
was
and still
so
be
depressing.
fightering somebody to death, no problem.
Yeah.
You know, fighters get
Like
mad.
it, even though he was so evil, I felt bad for
Yes.
him when it was like, oh, and now forever he'll be like unable to actually speak the numbers.
He is
I know.
forever unanchored.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
my
felt so bad
second
for him.
biggest vindication of the whole season.
Yeah.
It's
Wild.
like, yeah.
Man,
That's-
I will say the moment that I was most like scared, like the crab fight was like, oh, we'll probably die. The Brand fight, where we threw
Yes.
every single
Everything.
thing that we had. I mean, like it
Dylan was
wound up being like
shocked by how
7
well he
minutes.
was rolling.
It was like 7 minutes of like time on the podcast. That was like an hour and a half of us being like, we're doing everything every spell, every ability, every clap, like we're just throwing shit at him, and he
It
got out
is
of all of
fully-
it.
It's fully our Thanos Infinity War moment
Yes.
where we're
Yeah.
all like, we almost
Yes.
get him.
Yeah,
Like, we almost
Spidey
get him
had
and
the
it doesn't
almost
work.
got
glove,
him.
and he had the
Yeah.
thing, and we had the
Yeah.
Well,
the
and
cape.
just before that, when he shoots the fish, I gasped so hard.
Right.
Oh,
it
the
was
end of
like,
the penultimate episode. Yeah.
oh
Oh,
my
it's
My
great.
favorite
gosh,
ending
that
to any
really
episode of
got
Hero
me.
Club, probably.
We should talk about the
Woo!
chat in that moment. Is so when Caroline's word was said,
Oh my
the
God.
second the word happened, Gabe, all of us all realized in real time what that meant because it took us a second. All of us were like, huh. Oh, like we all like,
Yeah.
and the chat just like lit up with like, kill him now, Caroline, kill him now.
Zoom
kill him.
chat. Yeah.
Go after him.
all caps scream typing like fucking kill his ass.
This was also the first time we used like music in the back of the player's headphones, and I purposefully swapped it to like this building like moment, and everybody's like just seeing everybody realize it and shift in their chair, and Caroline's mouth just open and staring forward like he just pulled the trigger on my ass.
Just tried to kill me.
That was a
You
question I had. What was
asshole.
the only kill word we didn't hear was Flintbeaks. What was Flintbeaks' kill word?
Oh God, Dylan would know. You know what? I'm gonna text him.
Text him, get back to me.
I think it was like
But speaking of-
overcharge or something.
Yeah.
He told me all of them.
That
but
makes
I can't
sense.
remember what it was. Yeah.
That totally
What
makes sense.
were the other ones what were everybody else's?
Undertow was
Undertow
mine.
was
Yes.
Nick's.
Eclipse was Tibby's.
Eclipse
And
was
then,
Tibby's, and we
Yeah.
heard like half of Celestina's because it started to get
It's
said.
like
It was like
Right.
Colony or something like that. Not Colony, but
I
like
can't
that,
remember.
right?
it means like family, whatever
Yeah.
that was. I can't remember what it was, but
Oh, kinfolk.
Kinfolk.
Oh,
Kinfolk.
kinfolk, that's right.
Wait, but speaking of the killing words, that was so what a fun to now know that was why he was like disbarred, was like killing his first mate. Like it's just that but upgraded, so he's like
Yep.
it's even easier for him to kill his crew.
Yeah.
That's like such a that's
And he
Shout
justifies
out to
it,
Needle
and he
Teeth.
justifies
Needle
it
with like
Teeth.
innovation.
Right.
And it's like this is innovation. This isn't like me losing control. This is like the next step for us.
Oh,
Like,
now it's
justifies
easier,
his
yeah.
actions through like a veil of practicality and cruelty.
Yeah.
Wild.
But speaking of Needle Teeth, thank you, Lelia, for bringing him up.
Yes. The unsung
favorite
hero.
Like
Are you talking about
everyone-
Needle Teeth?
Everyone loved Needle Teeth. People were like,
Yeah, everyone really liked
so
Needle
funny.
Teeth.
Like my friends were listening.
And very sad when he died.
Yes, my friends were listening. They're like texting me as they're listening, like, "Oh my God, Needle Teeth is so funny. I love this character."
We're
And I'm
here
like,
only for Needle Teeth.
Yeah, the biggest
Team Needle Teeth.
biggest deaths of the season were Needle Teeth and Jasmine's little rogue pirate who was like, I believe
Yes.
you implicitly. What are we doing? We're killing
Oh,
the
Sammy,
pizza
Smelts.
rat.
Oh,
Smelts.
yeah, that's
Smel-
right.
Smelts the
Listen,
pizza rat.
I didn't know Jasmine would be the voice. It
No, none
broke
of us
my
did.
heart.
God.
so funny.
Wait, remind me who's Mrs. Hillsby's voice?
Jackie
Emerson.
Oh,
She
Jackie.
was fabulous.
Fabulous. So good.
So
And
good.
that was like realistically Snag's only relationship in the whole
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
I think that like Snag like understood that everybody else like was like an ally to him. I don't think he like felt anything for them. But like Miss Hillsby was the only one who he was like, well, I need to like take care of her just a little bit. And it's like I think it's like the only time that cracks just like a bit. But I really tried.
Well,
to
Snag
not care.
definitely has a mommy issue.
Yeah, that was the other reason why he didn't
Big time.
talk to the pond. Is
Yeah.
because definitely his mother would have been like, "Look at you, you freaking suck! What are you doing over here?
Freaking suck, dude.
You're just like your dad. What are you freaking doing over here?"
Aw. Your dad was such a dick.
Such a dick.
Oh, man.
Dylan McCollum's dad, Chuck McCollum, did that.
The
part,
voice.
So
and he
good.
And
crushed
Matt
it.
McCullum,
Dylan and Matt.
also our amazing composer of the theme song,
Yeah.
and
It's a whole family affair.
It's a whole family affair. Was the Archpriest Morrison in the beginning?
Yes.
Oh,
the
very
dumb-
good.
And also,
Oh.
I mean, we're just shouting out cast. Also to Hannah Fageraki, who was an amazing Skizz of
Skizza.
Greendale. Oh,
Oh,
so
excellent.
Barbosa accent that
Yeah.
she did was a voice that she did was
Fantastic.
So good. And we talked about this before we started recording, but the song, it
The
truly
song
slaps.
slaps.
Absolutely
so
slaps.
hard.
Slaps.
Slaps
what
my
an
butt, yeah.
unreal theme song. It slaps Carolyn.
By the
butt,
way, while
you know?
we're shouting out some of our dubcast for our NPCs, quick shout out to Adam and Aaron Rice Carlson,
Hell
who
yeah.
were the
Oh my gosh.
the
clerics.
Archpriest,
Yeah.
Leatherback, and then
The clerics.
Senya Tuto, the frog.
Yeah.
What an
when they
incredible
were-
duo.
And Marty the albatross.
Marty
Yeah,
as a
and
guest
Marty Abbey
character.
Schneider as Professor Nybert, unforgettable. And one of my Marty got a couple of lines off as Professor Nybert that really
Amazing.
yeah, all framed by that sound.
Marty and I were also, just recording wise, Marty and I were sharing a mic for his episodes. And the difference in spikes on the microphone between when
Yeah, no
when
chance
Flint
I
would
could
sort of
love
like talk
Marty
like
and
this,
another
nice and,
character.
yeah, nice and quiet, like, and then you'd hear like, "Oh God, oh God!" Just the difference in
It was really easy for me editing it, where I'm like, and those are Marty's, and I'll move them down to a separate track.
That's amazing.
Yep.
And then we also had
And if not for his funny cream, I would have freaking
Absolutely.
died.
That's true.
That's
oh
absolutely right.
god,
The cream.
Cream
the
saved the day.
anti paralysis cream.
That's
man.
right.
Yeah, holy crap.
Absolutely gigantic. That's what happens when you have a monster with paralysis. Quick, also shout out to Paolo Perez and Jesse Lanza, my good friends from New York, who also
Hell
did a couple
yes.
incidental voices for us that were fantastic and fun.
Oh,
And was
yes.
I believe Paolo was the voice of the assassin.
Yeah.
For Lilia,
Oh, yes.
and then Jesse was the taunting pirate from atop the deck when Flintbeak's asking for his medicine.
Hell
Like,
yeah.
we had some fun little moments where they got to come in.
Also, we talked
I-
all
I-
about his fight and how brilliant it was, but like John Madison as
John
Yes,
Madison
unbelievable.
as,
So great.
Doherty.
as
That-
Doherty is
One,
so
one of my favorite
fucking good.
jokes in the whole thing is him coming in with like the apology thing at the end.
An improvised line from John Madison as like a full 180 apology, in love with Snag.
I just want to say you
So
guys are so
good.
great. It's
I think George does so many voices, so many
George
NPCs.
does so many voices.
But I want to specifically call out Hagen Ofana, who is maybe my favorite character that never existed. Like, that was supposed to be a huge element of the fight. The like magic user on top
Yes.
of
Oh.
John's ship, who just got immediately shot off the top and
Yeah,
drowned.
that's
wrecked by Dylan.
Ended up, yeah, it was supposed to be a major fire threat, and also fun thing, had they been a thing longer, casting fireball at the ship, the mages would have had to reveal themselves with counterspell.
Whoa.
They would have had greater invisibility cast on themselves, but there would have been counterspells going off on a fireball with no mages present, which would have been the beginning of the hint that there were invisible mages on board.
Cool.
Invisible
Oh,
clerics.
man.
Oh, just another case of invisible mages.
Another case.
Wait, George, did you write the other song, the like midway through the season
Yes.
song?
Yeah,
The
George did
Swim
Swim
Swabby. I
Swim
think
Swabby,
you need,
yes, I did write that one.
you need
That
recognition for that, because
Yes.
that song is my
was
Absolutely.
fave.
so good, and we all had so much fun singing harmonies on it,
Yeah,
and
that was
it was
dope as
just
hell.
Another bop in the
that
season.
was a very fun one to write, and I also got the beautiful gift of Gabe dropping these really beautiful like verses, which miraculously Gabe also kept in tune, which made it much easier
Chef's
for me
kiss.
to back up.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah, which
incredible.
honestly, the soundscaping that you did around, because that's not an easy challenge to be like, let's pause this combat so I can sing a full 30 seconds of a song that I made up.
I came up with some physical bits for
Some
to fit
really
in that were
cool
very fun.
soundscaping stuff.
The best one on
great.
there is
Yep.
either you singing in the crab's mouth,
Yep.
or it
Where
really
Caroline's
might be,
attack gets
yes.
off.
Yes,
Caroline-
yes,
yep.
in the
That was
background.
so cool.
Gorgeous.
Oh my
Heartbreaking.
gosh, yes.
Oh,
Oh,
screeching like
good.
it, or it's when you bust in, like you come up on the locked door
the
above,
Doherty fight. Yep.
and
the
you step
first
back
one.
and kick
Ugh.
it open and start sword fighting. That's great too.
That was so cool.
Well, are there more Discord questions, George?
Yeah, let me just take a quick look the way through. I answered a couple. Okimi's was wondering why Brand is the way he is. We certainly answered that. Loch Nessa was asking what classes and level. We did cover that. Thanks, Loch Nessa. MJ Russell was asking about backstory details. We hit that up.
Oh, yeah, we're doing great.
Amulium, I'm not gonna say that right. Wiggle Sword asked if Kaiju Tibi will be a thing in the future, and my answer is maybe.
Listen.
Maybe.
Ninebite also
Rawr.
asked how was balancing for 15th level.
That's
hard.
a great question.
And if you
Hard.
listen to the second fight, I didn't do that good a job in the second fight. They destroyed it. They demolished the fight. But also, like, I knew that was. I definitely balanced low for the first encounter because I was like, we gotta see how awesome these guys are, with maybe a little bit
Yeah.
of danger for like the real danger of the second one was if enough of the crew dies, the PCs will have to work through the night and not be able to take long rests and may suffer exhaustion points. So by ending the combat quickly, they were able to prevent that from being the case. And that also freed them up for more exploration around the ship. So it was a consequential fight, even though they personally weren't in a lot of danger.
That is also it's such a cool thing for like if there's like a DM listening to this, like it's a great thing to challenge play where we're like we feel so powerful, but like the exhaustion mechanic in D&D is debilitating. Like if that happens, if you get hit with something like that, like you could have built the most optimized character in the game. Like when you're dealing with that kind of stuff in a fight of being like shit, we have to save crew and we have to not like just
Well, after
makes
that
for
fight,
much cooler
I
encounter.
was the only one who had a full level of exhaustion. I think after the Doherty fight.
Yeah.
Because we all rolled Constitution saves and I failed, and I was trying to do all that like all of my silver tongue stuff, but I was rolling at disadvantage
Right.
for everything.
Right.
And so it was just like terrible. And it is crazy when that starts happening. Like it's really nuts.
Well, also the crab, I feel like was just so freaking hard to kill and immune to so
Yeah.
many things.
So many
like that was
things.
part of your balancing. Was just like, nope, that can't hurt him. Nope, not at all.
There was
Like,
the crab stat block
Cool.
is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really crazy.
Plus
George
17 to
Yeah.
hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have my character sheet open right now, and Tibby was left at 15 hit points, and that must have been after she was
I had
brought back.
17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After she was healed a little bit. Yeah, the
Yeah.
thing with the crab was that the Ichor spears that it would shoot out were plus 6 to hit, but they had the DC 18 paralytic effect, which with a crit on the crab dealing I believe 10d4 on a bite attack and 4d8 on a claw attack, and 8d8 plus 10 is that's your
That
lights out,
hits.
you
That
know?
hits hard.
That hits.
That
if
hits
you're
real
hitting
hard.
crits. Yeah. So luckily you guys got around that paralytic poison most of the time, if not all the time.
Thank you, Lotion.
Thank you, Lotion. I
Thanks,
lucked
ointment.
into because with the mutant subclass of blood hunters, there's like one of the potions that I just picked in character creation was the one where it was like you can't be grappled or paralyzed,
Dang.
which wound
Essential.
up being not knowing what the big bad was going to be. I was just like Flintbeak wouldn't want his wings clipped, and so I picked that one, but like. Didn't expect to use it. I was like, I'll use the one that bumps my dex and that bumps my intelligence so that I have a 30 AC all the time. But wound up using the no paralyze-y one every time we went against that crap because it was just so brutal.
Totally. Totally.
Anybody have any like questions for me in terms of like things you were curious about for the campaign or what would have happened in certain cases?
I had some of those questions, but I feel like you
We
answered
a
them in
lot.
terms
Yeah,
of
that's
like,
true. There might not
Yeah.
be any more. We might have like really covered up all the things. I'm trying to think if there's anything. Oh, Caroline, what's up? You had one?
We did touch on this briefly, like off mic. But when you offered Tibby the chance to walk towards the light or like stay in the darkness,
Yeah.
and I walked towards the light, and you said that if I hadn't, I would have had a confrontation with Tagra. Was that
Yeah.
like?
Whoa, what?
Wow.
So in the darkness, banished in the darkness is like Tagra is like in the sunken place. So if she had gone back into the sunken place, she would have found Tagra there, and one of two things: either Tagra exacting revenge and like doing some really like attempting to kill her, and it would have been like a little like Stranger Things struggle inside of her mind. And we would have
Whoa.
watched like Tibby drop to the deck, frothing at the mouth, and maybe survive, maybe not. And Tagra maybe, or if Tibby
Whoa.
came in full opposite, which I doubt, it could have been a reconciliation. But Tagra would have been betrayed and like,
yeah,
like you know,
big
having
time.
like realized like the height of all of the everything he feared, which was to become irrelevant and banished.
Right.
Like now living that is just the embodiment of rage.
Yep.
Right. And of course, having not yet engulfed the sun.
Not
Of course,
yet.
having not engulfed,
yet.
having failed.
Yet.
But you did not
Dang.
choose the sunken place. You instead chose to continue the lineage of the beast you had formed a pheromonal pact with, and therefore the beast transferred its essence to you.
That
via
was the
pact.
most D&D sentence you could have possibly said.
Yeah, baby. I love it. Yum, yum, yum. Finger
I
licking
am who I
good.
am.
That's 14 herbs and spices, baby. that's
All in one.
the secret spice. It's just get more is more.
More, bigger.
Bigger is better.
I have a question for you, which is when
Yeah.
you're like setting out. This is, I guess, with any Hero Club season, but specifically with this one, which was like, you know, a little more condensed. Do you have like this is? I know effectively where we're gonna end up the entire time. Like how much of the end game is preset for you? Like when you sent us to us being like, you're gonna be a Suicide Squad.
yeah.
Were you already like, and you're gonna fight this giant crab, or was it sort of built as you went along, and to what degree?
Totally. I will say this one, the ending encounter was either the Dread Crab or the Monarch
Yeah,
Butterfly.
I was intrigued about that. Yeah.
I played the kaiju fight out in private. That result was not predetermined. I rolled a lot of dice in a row to determine. Like I didn't like sit there and do a combat by myself, but I turned a combat scene from afar into a skill challenge. So I just like
Whoa.
I rolled opposing rolls based on strength and dex and stuff like that to make the fight like by success or failure. So really, and also the ending could have ended up with anybody fucking alive. Oh, one thing we didn't talk about was when you multi-class into Salt Witch and you are a lightning blood hunter,
right.
that your lightning damage maxes because in the
my
moment
gosh.
we looked up what does salt do to the conductivity of electricity, and the
Yeah.
answer is drastically
Makes
increases
it fucking crazy, is what it does.
So
we got to
cool.
integrate that little
that was a
goofy
very
DM
cool
mechanic
science
as well.
mechanic. I forgot. About
So
that.
like truly, I really tried to leave as much open as possible for this one, and you guys fucking delivered, baby. Such a beautiful job from all of you.
Well, that's the fun part about, like, I feel like we get to the end of recording each episode and George is sort of like, okay, well, I have my work cut out for me. I'll be seeing you guys in a few days. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think-
gonna go
so
figure
you
this out.
definitely do have to
I
change
think the
course
biggest thing as a DM
sometimes.
is just like you have
Cool.
to put big pieces in play for the players to push, and
Mm.
then the story makes itself. Like your backstories
Mm-hmm.
were so beautifully crafted that inserting personal things into any kind of conflict makes the players attribute the meaning to the conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And all you got to do is follow where the players want to go in the improv. And I mean, like as a NPC, you don't even have to do any work. You just have to react as that person would react to the player's situation.
Yeah.
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 And you guys are all very generous Like it was easy.
Oh.
we
Yeah,
had such an
players
easy
are
time.
Yes.
doing
It was a
great.
great party dynamic. Pretty
Yeah.
much right away we locked in on a really really fun party dynamic that I really liked.
Yeah.
Like
And-
everyone's
yeah.
different
Absolutely.
rhythms were so nice together. It was just so cool. Like to have like I don't know, like the laughing moments where like, you know, like Nick and I would get into this cackle and then you'd have like Gabe and Lelia like like just like and then like and then can we talk about Celestina's laugh too?
Oh yeah.
Let's hear it, Lilia.
There we go. There it is.
With that,
God.
on that, I
Yeah.
think we gotta wrap this up. But this was very, very fun. One of my favorite campaigns ever. I love
So fun.
I love
Hell
short
yeah.
form
Yeah, this is
campaigns.
great.
I also love long form, but man, when you get to do all of these beginning, middles, and ends, I just have so many beautiful stories and that I get to reflect on thanks to all of you. And it's just a pleasure. I can't wait for the next time we. I think we're gonna have to at some point see Flintbeak, Celestina, and Snag's ghost.
Yes, we have to go
please.
get
I
him.
mean, because now I feel like that the whole Brand's Bargain was really just like a prequel for whatever that adventure is. It's like when
Right.
you get like
Yes.
the crazy, like the Hellboy comic of like, okay, there's a ghost witch, and then there's like this also witch, gunslinger, parrot, and then this like revenge mission, bear with a harpoon, and they're all on this. They're gonna go kill a diplomat in a theater, and they have all this backstory. And they're always talking about their dead friend who the boat's named after, and what's the deal with their dead friend? Like that's what we did, which is so
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait for that.
Oh man.
Thank you guys for joining us today. If you are big fans of Hero Club, tell all your friends. We love you all very much. Thank you for listening. And Nick, should we announce the title of our next season before we sign off?
Yes. Really fast before we do that, everyone just run down your socials for people.
Oh,
so
yeah,
that they can
great.
find
Let's get
you.
that locked in.
If you want to just go like Caroline, Gabe, Lelia, just run it down real fast.
Oh yeah. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Caro CARO _ Lux LUX. And then that's really it. Yeah.
Hell yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
be complicated.
Yeah.
What about you, Lily? Oh, Gabe.
Yeah, cool. I'm on Instagram and barely TikTok at GabeSpan. I don't know. Go to my IMDb page if you really want to look my stuff up. It could
Hell
probably
yeah,
use some more clicks. I don't know.
Great. Probably.
click.
Yeah, go ahead and look me up on IMDb too if you're, looking up Gabe while
While
you're
you're
at
at
it.
it.
While you're there.
Yeah. I'm also an Instagram only gal, and it's at Lelia LELIA Skips SKIPS.
Amazing. And yeah, George, so the next season of Hero Club is called Cluster Muck. It is a Tarantino, Guy Ritchie style season set in a sci-fi swamp planet. And it is our first PvP season. So there are multiple parties all vying for the same thing, and a lot happens. So
lot
stay
happens.
tuned for that.
So
That's all we're
is
going to
it
say.
Is it a cluster mug?
It really is
sure
a
is.
real cluster
It
muck.
Sure is.
It-
Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Members Only, and we hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Hero Club members only.
Fuck y'all. Fuck all of you. I take it all back. I take it all back.
Hero
You're all
Club members
bad people.
only. Glad to have you. This is where we talk about all the things that we don't get to say on the show, 'cause that's not our thing. Welcome to Hero Club members only.